Words and Music is about songs, and it's about songwriters, people with stories to tell and the gift to make us believers. This week's guest is the prog jazz metal band Red Side Visible. Words and Music. If we believe the singer, we'll believe the song. Red Side Visible is a band that makes music designed to take you places where you haven't been before. It's rock, it's jazz, it's metal. It's creative and challenging both for the musicians and the listeners. Let's see what Red Side Visible is all about. Paul and Tim, welcome to our show.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You're in a lot of different organizations. Red Side Visible is the... Where does it fit in the spectrum of the music that you do, Paul?
I guess it's kind of the latest thing. I guess I'm kind of involved in 3 groups right now. They all kind of started as an offshoot of the other, I guess. The first one I just called Paul Stranahan Trio, which I did just for more jazz. Really just started off kind of doing, I wanted to play some jazz and I wasn't getting the calls, so hey, I'll try to start a band and get some gigs, and then I can call the people who I like to play with. And then so that kind of, got going, and then I started to do some more writing. I figured if I actually have a band, then we might as well start doing some original stuff. So yeah. I kind of did start some more writing, some jazz, some more fusion stuff. And then I started to get, a little more, maybe more progressive, a little more out there. And so I thought I'd come up with a different name just to kind of differentiate, like Paul Stranahan Trio. A lot of times around here, if you think name Trio, kind of straight ahead jazz stuff, a lot of times the opportunities to play are kind of like background dinner music. And which is fine. You can still do some interesting music that way. But then when I would do the more out there progressive stuff, I think people who would like that.
Quiet, we're trying to eat.
Exactly, yeah. So I came up with the name PSI, which I called Paul Stranahan's Insomnia, which is for when I know we can do more original, a little more progressive things. It's a little more, it's all just a volume issue too, where we're not going to say, hey, be quiet, we're trying to eat. And then Tim was kind of originally in the trio, and then I kind of expanded to PSI, Paul Stranahan's Insomnia, and then Tim moved away, went off to New York, right. But then now he's back, which is good. And when we came back, I already had a lineup ready to go. And Tim had mentioned, we could maybe do, hey, what do you think about maybe doing like a heavier project? And I said, hey, that sounds good to me. So that's sort of how this Red Side Visible thing came about. Tim wrote a bunch of really, really hard songs. And I've been writing some too. And yeah, so really that's kind of how it started, an offshoot of the PSI, which is an offshoot of the Paul Stranahan Trio.
Well, both of you guys have, pretty strong jazz chops and jazz backgrounds. Is that where you gravitated towards in your schooling? Or we can even go back even farther. What hit you first, as young kids?
Actually, I started it as a metal person. There's the Panteras and stuff like that is sort of what I got into. But out of all the bands, my dad took me to see Spyro Gyra one time.
Oh, yeah.
And I just saw how much fun they were having, and they were playing at the same level or better musicianship. And ever since I went to saw that, I started studying jazz. And that was probably when I was 16, 17.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you grow
up? Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So
beautiful town.
Yeah. Yeah, it went well. Then I just kind of got hooked, and the more I got into it, the more I liked it, and tried to spend most of my time studying that. Though I did get into classical for a while, and have sort of tried to balance it all out somehow. And now I'm sort of making a loop around where I'm sort of mixing all the things together, or hopefully mixing them all together. And so going back to my roots in the metal or whatever, and putting the jazz and stuff influence in there, and I don't know, hopefully it works out.
Well, it's actually a different kind of a bass that can create a whole bunch of compositions that that you wouldn't have come up with. Mm-hmm. Let's get a little bit into your background.
Sure. Well, I kind of got serious a little bit late. For really not till I went to college is when I got serious. I sort of make the joke that my eternal goal as a drummer or as a musician is to be as good as what I thought I was in high school. I thought I was the world's greatest drummer, but I did not have a clue at all what I was doing. And I got a pretty rude awakening when I went to college that I really had no clue at all. So I really kind of started all over. I'm hoping, I think in the long run, that's helped me, because I always feel like, oh man, I really need to catch up. And so I'm
So you're
still
always challenging yourself.
Yeah, that definitely. This band is a big part of that. Really, yeah, trying to write new stuff, learn new stuff, just keep learning. So I went to college, did the conservatory route eventually, and studied some jazz stuff. And really, since college days, have been trying to be a musician. But lately, I think it's more important to play music. Often, like to be a musician, a lot of times the most common places to make money, unfortunately, are not the most rewarding.
Musically.
Yeah, and so I really want to just concentrate now of playing music that, which is the reason why I got into music to begin with, and it wasn't to play, in a wedding band or something like that. It was to do.
Really?
Yeah, really. Nothing wrong with playing in a wedding band. Don't get me wrong. You can just still do some interesting music. But I mean, the bands that I like and the musicians that I really like and admire, have their own thing going on, and it's not just their own thing, but it's their own thing that I think is cool, and I'm trying to do the same thing. Hopefully, come up with something that's hopefully new and creative and challenging, and that people will like.
And that's really the point of Red Side Visible, is to really challenge your chops, challenge your musicianship, and in an ensemble level as well.
Sure, I think so, but hopefully not just for the sake of being challenging. I mean, hopefully, I think that part of the challenge is to write something that's challenging that at the same time, is interesting musically and doesn't just sound like, oh, here's this exercise that's really hard. Let's try to play it.
So the music that you're writing now, both of you guys write for the band, and you've got a song called Pie, which I still haven't been able to figure out. Maybe you can help us out. But what's the story of Pie?
Tim wrote that one. So
well, when we kind of talked about doing the project at first, I don't know, I just started coming up with ideas, and I'm kind of a big science geek and whatever. So I thought, well, what would be kind of interesting is maybe sort of an exercise at first to try to write a song based on the number pi. So you got the 3.1415, etc., and change the time signature based on the number. Of course, you can kind of look at the song when you hear it. You could count it a million different ways, but the way I wrote it,
I couldn't get it.
Yeah, I tried to do it. It's actually a pretty slow count. I mean, it's about right here. It's about 85 beats per minute. But certain things happen where, like if it was a 1, if that was the number in the series, a lot of times I'll go to the note D on the guitar. So it's like do 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 boom. That will kind of like indicate that that's happening there. Okay. And actually, one thing I did too is when you see 0, 0 is kind of an interesting number. So instead of just not having anything, I actually made it a 1/8 measure. So the whole riff can sort of flip there.
Half a beat.
Or half a beat, yeah, half a beat in this case.
Well, I think you should get your guitar and kind of explain it to us as
yeah, let's kind of
go.
So basically, the way the song starts, we're going. That's 3 and then 4 or 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I think that's 8 or something like that. 5 maybe. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So it's kind of those kind of things are happening. So it's this sort of 1, 2, 3.
It's kind of a grindy.
Yeah, it kind of keeps going on and on.
Grind beat.
I kind of want to be in your face a little bit with it, sort of definite things happening.
Right.
But it kind of exploits also like the triplets and things like that. There's a part later on, so that kind of thing.
Right.
So we're kind of adding all kinds of rhythms, and then Paul's doing these sort of polyrhythms on top of it that sometimes make it even more impossible to count.
Well, hey, let's forget about counting. Just play the song. If you
All right,
want.
let's try it.